There's something about Mary that shouldn't have worked. It's awkward, uncomfortable,
Hey, surprise!
and half the time it feels like it's about to completely fall apart. But somehow, every single moment lands exactly how it's supposed to.
Yes.
Maybe it was how far it pushed things. Maybe it was how unpredictable it felt.
Whoa! I was peeing. That's what I was doing. I was just peeing.
Or maybe it was just one of those movies you couldn't stop quoting after you saw it. Either way, it ended up becoming one of those comedies that people kept coming back to. But behind everything that made it work, there's a lot more going on than most people realize. It turns out a lot of that chaos wasn't even planned. And hey, have you guys seen my baseball? Number one. That infamous Frank and Beans scene wasn't just written to shock people.
Oh, for God, never say
It was actually based on a real story from the Farley brothers' childhood.
Holy shit!
A kid in their neighborhood really did get caught in his zipper.
Frank and Beans!
And it was bad enough that adults had to step in and help.
Ow! Ow! Christ! What the... God!
As ridiculous as the scene feels, it came from something very, very real.
Bring everybody! Bring a camera! You're not gonna believe this!
We got a bleeder!
The hair gel scene almost never made it into the movie. Cameron Diaz was seriously worried that it would ruin her image and affect her career.
Is that a hair gel?
Because of that, they filmed an alternate version of the scene without it. But when test audiences saw the original version, the reaction was instant.
Tell me you spanked the monkey before any big date.
The room exploded with laughter, and that basically locked it in. So if you ever find yourself on a big date, don't forget to flog the dolphin.
Holy shit! I've been going out with a loaded gun.
Ben Stiller feels like an obvious choice now, but he wasn't the only one considered for Ted.
So what are you saying?
Jon Stewart and Owen Wilson were both looked at for the role, which would have completely changed the tone of the character. Stiller's awkward delivery ended up being exactly what the movie needed.
My turn. Okay, well, I don't...
It's okay, Ted. You have to.
Mary could have looked very different too. Courtney Cox was one of the names considered before Cameron Diaz got the role.
I'm fucking with you, Ted.
At the time, Cox was already well known, but Diaz brought a different kind of energy that made the character feel more natural.
No, I wasn't.
Mom, wait.
The Brett Favre cameo didn't come together as easily as it seems.
What the hell is Brett Favre doing here?
The role was first offered to Drew Bledsoe, who turned it down and later admitted he regretted it. Then it went to Steve Young,
It's no Steve Young.
who declined because he didn't want kids sneaking into an R-rated movie. Eventually, it landed on Favre. Brett Favre didn't just show up to read lines, he actually changed part of the script himself. The line,
I'm in town to play the Dolphins, you dumbass.
was something he came up with after not liking the original version.
Alright, what the hell is going on here?
One of the funniest moments in the movie wasn't even supposed to happen. When Ted is being loaded into the ambulance and the stretcher falls.
Ted!
That was a real accident. Instead of reshooting it, they kept it in because it felt completely in line with the character and the situation. Keith David, who played Mary's stepfather, added a lot of his own personality to the role.
Well, how the hell did you get the beans above the Frank? I mean, I don't know.
He improvised several of his lines, including the
Don't let me have to open a can of whoop ass on you, yeah?
which ended up becoming one of the more quotable parts of the movie.
I'm not paying until the job gets done. He can kiss my ass. What the hell are you on?
Some of the dialogue in the movie didn't even originate from this movie. The line about there not being enough meats on sticks.
You know, I don't think that they have enough meats on sticks. No, seriously. I mean, if you think about it, they have plenty of sweets, right?
Was originally written for a Seinfeld episode that never got produced. The Farley brothers held on to it and found the perfect place to use it here.
Couple more nitrate sickles, please.
2 corn dogs coming up.
Mary's brother Warren wasn't just a random character. He was based on a real-life person, the older brother of one of the Farleys' childhood friends. His name was Warren Tasjan, and he even appears briefly in the movie. Before W. Earl Brown got the role for Warren, someone else tried out for it. Guess who? Chris Farley actually auditioned, which would have taken the character in a completely different direction. Even the dog in the movie has a story behind it. Puffy was played by a female border terrier named Slammer. And because of the more chaotic scenes, multiple prop dogs were also used for stunts. The movie almost ended up with an NC-17 rating. Because of scenes like the zipper incident and the hair gel moment,
I've never even been in Jersey!
Okay.
the filmmakers had to make adjustments to bring it down to an R rating.
You're a fucking liar. Do you expect us to believe that you're going to the prom with Mary?
When the movie first came out, expectations weren't that high, but word of mouth changed everything.
I still want to look her up.
Who? Roller pig? Are you nuts?
People started recommending it to each other, and it quickly became one of the biggest comedy hits of its time.
Those goofy bastards are just about the best thing I've got going in this crazy world.
And even after all that success, there was never a sequel. 20th Century Fox pushed for one, but the Farley brothers turned it down. They felt the story was complete and didn't need to be continued.
It was you.
And that's really what made There's Something About Mary stick.
I've got a vibrator.
It wasn't just the jokes, it was how unexpected everything felt. You never knew what was coming next, and somehow it just kept pushing far enough without completely losing you. It was the kind of movie people quoted the next day, replayed with friends, and laughed at it all over again like it was the first time. Even now, years later, it still hits the same way awkward, ridiculous, and somehow still one of the funniest movies to come out of that era.
You ever had a whitehead on your eyeball, Mary?
Like some beans!